Hit them fast, secure the bag. Don't even blink, make them walk the plank. Light them up, let's make them sing. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. Go Bucks, yeah, we on. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. The whole field's already let me give you 55 reasons why this is our season. Palm trees breezing, opposing teams bleeding.
All right, welcome back to Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard on the artist formerly known as Twitter, X. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And believe it or not, we've got the bye week behind us. Long road ahead. Got to buckle up and let's see what's going to happen. Joined by my special guest. Shouldn't say guest. Say co-host. Call them that. They're at home. Kick your feet up. Get you a beer. Go in the refrigerator. Get what you want. KB, how you doing? Ken Barrett, not to be mistaken for Shaq Barrett. How you doing, brother?
I am not sick, so we're all good here.
That's what I'm talking about. And, of course, the man I like to call the GM. Some people call him the doctor. I would prefer GM only because I would want this guy doing talent evaluation on my team. I just put it
Can
down.
I ask where doctor came from?
Stammer.
I know it was loose cannons, but what was the inspiration?
It was, they saw the master's degree on the back wall here, and like,
there you go. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like they just started with doctor, and I don't know. They think I'm British, and I'm like, I'm not British.
Well, I'd pay money to have Sammer call you master. So doctor fits. That makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. I do prefer the GM because, like I said, if you guys have not followed Real Bucks Talk during draft time, you're missing out. You're missing out on a lot. So definitely want to get that going there. Oh God, here we go. Shooter in the stash, coming in hot with the jokes. So, and then we got Krillin coming in right behind him. So, guys, bye week is behind us. People are getting healthy. What are you guys thinking? Are you excited for this game? Is this a game where, what are you thinking? Is this a test or is this a game that the Bucks have a great chance to win? How are you feeling about this game, KB?
I mean, looking at the injury report, I'm feeling a lot better than I did, earlier in the week. Just looking at where the Lions are, I think it's a testament. Again, if the Bucks lose, I don't think it's the end of the world. And if the Lions lose, I don't think it's the end of their season either. But I think what's going on right now is a testament to where the advantage of the early bye is. It was timed perfectly against a quality opponent, where I hope the Bucks obviously can ride some momentum and not have to be interrupted by the bye. But I'm curious to see what this team will look like injury-wise when Week 13 rolls around. But from this standpoint, just looking at where the Lions are, the game being in Tampa as opposed to in Detroit, where they played really, really well. Not that they play bad on the road, but they're a different team on the road versus at home. I think this is as good of a scenario the Bucks could, have laid out for them. But don't be surprised if the Bucks do wind up pulling the W. If we hear, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't playing, oh, Sam Laporta wasn't playing, oh, Brian Branch wasn't playing. The Lions had got to experience that Week 1 when Travis Kelce and Chris Jones didn't play. So again, Bucks fans, I think you should be excited for this game. Creamsicles, everything's ready to go. Flexed into a primetime slot. Like, everything is looking very good for what the Bucks could ask for from an opportunity standpoint. It's there for the taking, and we'll see if the coaching staff has the team prepared and if the players execute.
Bless.
Yeah, I mean, what Ken said, I think it's a great opportunity for the Buccaneers. You're looking at a team that is, 3-1 coming in and off the bye week. You have time to get healthy and rested, which it looks like they're going to be pretty much full strength going into this game, which is great. And you're facing a very good Detroit Lions team that is physical at the point of attack. Offensive line is very good, physical. Defensive line is a line that plays with a lot of hustle and motor. They just play hard. Like they always play hard. So that is something you got to match and you have to be ready for once that game starts and kicks off. But like Ken said, I think we have a really good chance of winning it. I think there's some special powers in the creamsicle jersey, so I think that's going to be fun to see.
Are we 1-3 in them in the new era?
Well, again, though, that is mostly the players that were in there, but I think we have
Fair
a much
enough.
better.
That
We have,
era is very, very much we don't talk
yeah,
about very much
yeah.
anymore.
We have a much better team now. Also, the last creamsicle game that I was at, we won, and that was against the Green Bay Packers in 2009. I'm going to be at this game to see the Bucks play against Detroit, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to it. I'm glad they moved it to the 4:25 start. I think that's awesome, and yeah, going to be great weather as well. In the high 70s for most of the game, which is going to be awesome.
Oh man, you can't ask for anything better. Just you guys were talking about Detroit, and Detroit is a real reflection of their coach. And
Yes.
I know when their coach first came in, I know I made fun of him because he was talking about eating bricks or concrete or forgot what he was saying. I got saying something.
Biting kneecaps, man.
Yeah, biting kneecaps. There you go. But he's assembled a team that is pretty much a reflection of him, which really it goes back to coaching and how important coaching really is.
Mhm.
And this team, he's got his team ready to run through walls, and it's going to be really exciting to see how the Bucks measure up to the Detroit Lions team. And at the beginning of the season, who would have thought we were talking about Tampa and Detroit, playing at the level that they've been playing? So definitely a game that I'm looking forward to. You got some players healthy, and I definitely want to jump into that because that to me is probably the most exciting thing. And there's some other things I want to talk about, but I do want to talk about the injury report and kind of get your thoughts on it. I know with Jamel Dean was full practice. Servasia Dennis was full practice. Luka Decky, Kalijah Cansey, Ryan Neal. So we've got a lot of people that are coming back from injury, and it looks like it's looking good. It's looking promising going into the weekend. Plus,
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, I think you're gonna have a pretty much full strength team. The only one that might be in question is Mike Evans, but I think he's gonna go for this game. He was limited today, which is great. We will see how he reacts tomorrow, and hopefully he can be full participant tomorrow, and they'll let him go. But it would be hard pressed for Mike Evans to miss this game, especially wearing the creamsicle jerseys. Like he wants to be in it. So you're going to be pretty much healthy. And then, you look at Detroit's injuries, we spoke about it. Sam Laporta on the injury report now, that could be a huge loss for them. Even though he's a rookie, he's still a very good, blocking tight end, in the football well. The big one I'm looking at is Jonah Jackson. Jonah Jackson hasn't practiced either days so far. And if he's out, that helps you out as far as the offensive line. Really, it helps you in the interior, which you're going to need, especially going up against Frank Glass now and the other right guard.
Haitai.
Huh?
Haitai. Sorry.
Well, no, I think he's out. It's the other guy that's playing Graham. I think it's Graham. I got the names mixed up. So Frank Ragnow and then Graham Glass now is going to be the right guard who's playing pretty well. But yeah, I mean they're banged up on that side of the ball, and we'll see what happens.
oh yeah. So this is really this is shaping up to be a really good game. I was really surprised by the flex. The fact that they flexed it to a later time. Man, I don't know. That's wild to me. But I guess this is probably an interesting game. I still have flashbacks to when we were all in the division together, so I'm feeling kind of a different way than everybody else is, just because it is the Detroit Lions, and I don't know how many times we've seen the Detroit Lions, in the division, and it was kind of nightmarish at times. So,
yeah, Barry Sanders. I remember watching Barry Sanders play at Ray J. I got to see him live one time, and man, he just he took over. I think he juked out pretty much the whole front seven, and then he ended up taking it all the way to the house. It was crazy run. I want to say we still won the game, but he had one of those awesome runs that he always tended to do. And real quick on Dan Campbell, he was my pick if the Bucks didn't get BA. Like he was my guy that I thought they would have gone after. I loved him as a potential head coach. I like what he's doing. Also, he coached with Todd Bowles in Miami, so
Yeah.
there's a little connection there. So yeah, he was definitely our top pick if Bruce Arians wasn't available.
Yeah, that's just wild because, like I said,
Yeah.
I kind of made fun of him a little bit, but then as I saw what he was doing, saw what he was building, and just who he surrounded himself with. I mean, I think
Mhm.
he's got a really good coaching staff over there, and they are making noise.
His whole staff is pretty much ex NFL players. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not just like the Byron Leftwiches of the world. A lot of these guys have really proven themselves in
Right.
the
oh yeah,
role.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Aaron Glenn is the DC. You got, Deuce Staley. A lot of names there. Mark Burnell, I think, is still there as quarterbacks coach. Yeah. And then, obviously Ben Johnson is just taking the league by storm with his play calling. So
Did
it's
you
gonna
see
be a
the
great
snap
challenge.
that went through Jared Goff to David Montgomery? Like, who does
Yeah.
that? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
like,
they play with big balls, and that's
yeah,
just
they
that's
slapped him
how.
on the table. Bam.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah.
So I wanted to kind of talk about something. I know this has been a subject for Bucks Twitter, X or whatever you want to call it, for since the season starting, is the run game. My expectations are you're going to see more of the same this week just because of this run defense. I'm not sure how this is all going to work out, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. The Bucks run game and how does that factor into them playing against this Bears? Goodness, this Lions team.
well, I mean, it's going to come down to really David Montgomery is going to be the backfield for the Lions. So it's going to come down to, again, we on this podcast wholeheartedly agree you don't need the run game going to make the play action work.
Right.
Well, Amon Ra is going to be coming back. Jamison Williams will have his legs underneath him. So I think that's going to be the key for the Lions is to what can they get on the ground game against the Bucks, and then what can that lead to explosive lies in the play action game. Jared Goff is not going to be the receiver against the Bucks where you're just going to spread it out and he's just going to pick you apart, throwing, the way Peyton Manning would to a lot of defenses back in the day. A lot of it's going to be set up. A lot of it's going to be, again, if David Montgomery is averaging 5 yards a carry, it's going to be a long, long day for the Bucks defense. The offense just needs to put up points. I think, again, whichever team in this game probably gets to like 24, 27, probably the winner. I don't think this is going to be 10-7 game. This is going to have some points up on the board. As Plus said, the weather looks to be pretty good. Both teams want to establish that play action game. Both have really good defenses. Again, I think the Detroit Lions are at the disadvantage there just due to their injuries. But they're top 3 in stopping the run, so our trenches are going to be tested. We know Canales is going to try to establish some kind of run game with Rachaad White. I expect a heavy dose of Rachaad White this game, with Keyshawn Vaughn or,
Sean Tucker.
Sean Tucker coming in just a spell. I think this is going to be the first game we really see Rachaad White, get that 90%, workload where it's essentially, hey, this is your game, kid. And from that standpoint, Mike Evans, if he's there, great. If he's not, after what I saw against the Saints, I'm confident in Bucks getting through this week. I don't pick games on this show because every time I have, I'm always wrong. Especially
and we've always picked the same team.
Even when I haven't chosen the Bucks, I was still wrong. So from that standpoint, I'm just not going to pick the game. But like I said in my little intro tonight, I really, really think that all things considered, this is a very good opportunity for the Bucks to win this game. And it's not because they're the better team than the Lions. They're the healthier team, which is honestly sometimes what the NFL is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, right what Ken said. I mean, it's about obviously stopping the run against their offense. They're going to try to be physical, establish that ground game. They run it in different ways. So you have to be prepared. You have to make sure your gaps are fit and your assignment sound. I'm looking at you, Logan Hall. You got to make sure you hold up against those double teams. Kalijah Cansey, try to penetrate and get disruption.
This is a great game for him to come back to. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Interior pressure against Goff. What more could you ask for?
Right, exactly. So that's going to be the challenge for the defense if they can make this team one-dimensional and find ways to get Goff in situations where he's throwing the football, and you can get pressure on him by creating those simulated pressures. You can maybe find yourself getting some interceptions. Now, again, he's playing outstanding so far this season. So you got to give him credit, and a lot of that is to what they're doing offensively. Yeah. So it's going to be a challenge. There's going to be points scored. I think what the Buccaneers' big key is obviously stopping the run, and then when they're in the red zone, you got to get those stops and try to hold them to 3. Either that or try to get some splash plays, whether it's picks or sack fumbles, stuff like that to help out your offense. And then offensively, I think you got to have the same approach you did against the Saints, and that's come out throwing the ball on first down and taking advantage of what that gives you, because it sets up the run game, and then you can use that to run the ball more effectively out of shotgun. And also the end around game with the jet sweeps to Devin Tompkins and others. I think that will be, very important as well. So, yeah, I think you have some advantages for, the Bucs offense going up against their defense. The big key is, can our defense, make it difficult for the Lions offense and, put us in the game. I think it'll be a competitive game. We're not going to get blown out. I don't think we're going to blow out Detroit. So it's going to be a lot of fun and a great one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, just getting stops, getting 3 and outs is going to be huge too. Yeah. You don't want to keep your defense on the field for any extended period of time. I understand that sometimes, like with this offense, from what I've seen all season, you can't stop them. You can contain them, but you can't stop them. So it's going to be one of those things where they're going to have to execute. This is a big game for them. And this is kind of a bounce back from the Eagles game where they have to really come in, and they're playing against an opponent that can punch you in the mouth. So they have to really go out there and get those stops. And, field position battle is important as well. Your punter puts your defense in a good position. The defense has to reward the punter and, get those stops or get the 3 and out and, move the, change the field position as it goes.
To Gene's point, pop quiz to my 2 co-hosts here. How many field goals do you think Riley Patterson has taken this season?
Probably not a lot. I would say 10.
What about you, Gene?
2.
5.
Oh,
do you know how many extra points he's made?
Probably all of them, like 30.
Well, he's made all of them, but how many do you think he's made?
30. That's probably
Gene?
too much.
I'm thinking about 25.
19. So again, we're seeing from a field goal perspective, they're kicking the ball 25% of the time to what they're scoring touchdowns at.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, you got to hold them to 3s at least 50% of the time in this game. Maybe 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, that equals 20. Again, this is a race to 24 or 27 to me in this game. So that's really what I'm hoping for from our defense is, again, a good offense. They're mostly healthy on the offensive side. So defense, do kind of what you can. If you can go 50% in the red zone, that'd be ginormous. Yeah. From that standpoint, just limit those opportunities in the red zone and when they actually get into our territory. If they don't follow suit in Gene's ask, which is to get a 3 and out.
Yeah.
Also, Bucs are undefeated this year in games where they've won the turnover battle. So if you want to get a turnover or 2, Jared Goff's not going to make a lot of turnover-worthy plays, but that's where Kalijah Kancey and a defensive line strip sacks. Jared Goff's not going to be running around.
Yeah. So when you look at this, when you look at this Lions team and who they've faced so far this season, where do you rank this Buccaneers defense versus that Detroit offense up there? Has Detroit faced the defense like Tampa's defense so far this year?
No, because in my opinion, the Kansas City didn't have Chris Jones. That's essentially our defense without Vita Vea. And then from that standpoint, Seattle, they gave up 31. The final score is 37-31 in overtime. Atlanta, I think, is super overrated. They put 20 up on them. Green Bay, they put up 34 at Green Bay. I would say that's more of a short week. Granted, it's at Green Bay, but that's the worst I've ever seen this Matt LaFleur team ever come out for any game.
Yeah.
They just
Jordan
had
Love.
they had Jordan Love throwing 20 of the first 22 plays of that game. Like, what? So again, I think Green Bay is probably the most comparable because Chris Jones didn't play for Kansas City. But yeah, that was a short week. Again, Green Bay just played so bad. I don't think they've really been challenged other than that Seattle game. I mean, yeah, the Kansas City game week 1, but from that standpoint, the challenge was really on their defense as opposed to their offense, in my opinion. They still put up over 20 in that game. They put up over 20 in every single game this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you look at Seattle. Seattle's the team that beat them. Again, the Buccaneers run a similar offense to Seattle, so obviously they're going to try to do some things that worked, for the Seahawks and see if that pays off. But yeah, this is probably the best defense they've faced so far this year, top to bottom. I think overall, complete defense. It's healthy now. You got Zion McCollum back on special teams, which is going to be huge, full time, and also his ability to rotate in with Jamel Dean or Carlton if needed. That will be big. So pretty much got a full squad there on defense. I think it's going to be important, like I said earlier, manning up and making sure you're in your gaps. Don't allow David Montgomery to get loose, and you have to wrap up and tackle because this guy is strong and he knows how to break tackles. Can't arm wrestle him to the ground. It's just not going to work.
You definitely can't tackle him.
You remember that screen grab of when he was in college? They put his comparisons for all of his traits, and it was like Adrian Peterson and Gale Sayers. It's like insert some of the best running backs of all time. Like David Montgomery has every single quality for all those different categories.
I love David.
David Montgomery's definitely not that, but what that's basically telling you is David Montgomery can pretty much do everything that you ask for. Their head coach, Dan Campbell, yesterday had a great quote of what basically David Montgomery is for their offense. If you remember back to, his days in Carolina or in New Orleans, when Mark Ingram was at his best, they got a little guy named Alvin Kamara. That's what Gibbs was supposed to be. But at the end of the day, David Montgomery was supposed to be their run game and their offense. And it's checked out. It's made sense. But again, to something Dave Canales pointed out that at least has me encouraged. Last year, Seattle beat them 48-45. So again, a Dave Canales offense putting up a lot of points against Detroit. And then this year, obviously, Shane Waldron put up another 37. Yeah. So that's a 31 at least in the 4 quarters. So from that standpoint, it sounds like the Shane Waldron, Dave Canales tree can at least has an idea of what's going on in Detroit because they've had some really good success in some high-scoring games. Right. So hopefully that carries over, and I think Todd Bowles has had pretty good success against Jared Goff. Granted, that was with McVay. But again, it's like the stars are aligning for at least why Tampa Bay shouldn't at least be, out of the realm of consideration to at least keep this within a 3-score game. I would throw every narrative of the Bucks, Lions media. I saw a couple clips yesterday that I forgot his name right now, but he works for Pewter Report, who has a Detroit base. Like he's from Detroit, follows Detroit sports, happens to also be a Bucks fan. And he was sharing some wild clips of like saying, hey, they just don't see a scenario in which the Bucks can win. And I'm usually the pessimist here. And I think there's a lot of narrative to at least be like, this is at least a coin flip, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've talked about this with, Mark, my co-host on Real Bucks Talk. It's about, you look at the top teams in the NFC. Obviously, the Eagles and the 49ers are the tier 1. Like, they're right there. And then after that, I think you have Detroit, and I would put Tampa in there. And, you look at the Cowboys,
defensively, maybe, at least.
Yeah.
Not their offense. I'm sorry. Their offense is bad.
Right. Yeah. You look at, Seattle. So probably like Dallas and Seattle are probably like below that tier 2. And when you look at Detroit and Tampa, I think, you're battling for that number 3 seed. And that's why this game is huge in that aspect. You win this, you have a good chance of being right there, to get that third seed. And that obviously that would be a benefit for you because that fifth seed is probably going to be either Dallas or Philadelphia, depending on who wins the division. But it looks like Philly's going to take it just the way they're playing.
Yeah.
So that's how I
And
see
who's
it.
the 6 seed? Yeah, you're looking at what Seattle who'd be coming to you. You'd be looking at
Right.
possibly like a New Orleans like coming
Yeah.
to you. Like
Yeah.
that's really what you're looking at in the NFC. So
Mhm.
from that standpoint, I mean, the opportunities there. This plus is saying, that 3 seed. I know for the Bucks last year was like, okay, just get to the 4. You're playing the NFC least.
Yeah.
It was the same thing in 2020. It was or 2021. It was just like, hey, we're just going to run with this. It doesn't really matter if we're 1, 2, or 3,
Right.
like whatever.
Yeah.
2020 was just like, hey, just make it. For the Bucks standpoint, if the Bucks are actually going to play to this trajectory, the 3 seed is super valuable because I think you're going to be traveling to Philadelphia, which again the Bucks at least have played Jalen Hurts really well.
Yeah.
And we'll see what that team looks like, when January rolls around, if that's your opportunity after you hopefully win a playoff game. But that's way too down the road. But my whole point there is I think the 49ers are in the class of their own. The Eagles are right there. They're going to play each other. So we'll really see if the Eagles have taken that step to really hang with the 49ers.
Yeah.
But after that, like as Plus saying, it's the wild, wild west, man. Like the Lions could be great. The Bucks could be right there. If the Bucks really are frauds, then the Saints have every opportunity. Like, I just think you can throw the Falcons really out at this point. I know Desmond Ridder had that game-winning drive, but it's just
what he was up against, though.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, it's just 5-yard dump passes. Like the Texans took their foot off the gas after they tied the game, and it was just like, hey, like D'Amico Ryans, like where's your defense that you're playing the first 3 and 9/10 of the game, like 3/4 and 9/10 of the last quarter? Like it's just all just went away, and it was just Desmond Ridder was just like, oh, okay, Drake London's running by himself against zone coverage, runs an out route. Okay, I'm gonna dump that. Oh, how many Bijan Robinson one-handed catches in the
screen game?
In the screen, not even just the screen, the swing game. Like just even just swinging out. Like Desmond Ridder's not an accurate quarterback, and Derek Carr's arm. I'm sorry, a shoulder AC joint injury is not fun to play through. Like, and my heart goes out to
those teams
healthy, but like the Bucks' opportunity is there.
Right. And this is going to come down to staying healthy and executing. That's
not turning the ball over.
Hey, you go out and do your job, get a few turnovers, and you're in business. James Ludeman was asking, true or false, the Bucks win this game. They're a top 3 team in the NFC.
Plus, just lay it out.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, and again, it goes back to these things I heard in the offseason that just still baffle me to this day. I joke with Josh Capo, like if we win this game, we're past the 3-win floor. And it's like, and then I saw these other people, like national media people that I respect, like Brett Coleman. I respect him a ton because he does stuff that we do on Real Bucks Talk as far as film and analysis. And he comes out and says that the Panthers are going to win the division, and Panthers are set up the best.
Talk about a floor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like just seeing like other people pick the Panthers and Falcons to win this division when they know the quarterback wasn't good. Like quarterback just not there yet on either side. And defensively, they still had a lot of issues. And I'm like, who's Bryce Young going to throw the football to?
Well,
like,
imagine if Bryce Young was on the Falcons, then I'd be like, okay, let's talk. But Desmond Ridder has all the tools, and they just traded for Van Jefferson too. Not that Van Jefferson's a world beater, but as your number 5 receiver, like you could do a lot worse. And Kyle Pitts is basically, Jonnu Smith is the tight end 1. Let's just be real. Like he's not even in the top 4 of weaponry for Desmond Ridder.
Right.
When you throw Bijan and Tyler Algier in there too. So it's just like from that standpoint, it's like the Falcons have so many good, like I could understand the Falcons, The Panthers made no sense.
Yeah.
But the Falcons, you made your bet on Desmond Ritter, which one of my bold predictions was Derek Carr was going to be the worst quarterback in the division this year. But I really said, hey, it's Desmond Ritter. But I just, took the shot on Derek Carr not being that good. Basically, the Patriots laid a nice little egg for them last Sunday. But, I mean, from that standpoint, you have two QBs that just aren't it. And I don't think Bryce Young, he still has that path to possibly be it. But what are the Panthers doing right now? They're scrambling to find a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
That's before they address their O-line.
Yeah.
And that's before they really have a good sense of competing, because they just lost their first round pick, which looks like the #1 overall pick at this point.
Yeah.
So, and Brian Burns, if I'm Carolina, I'm trading Brian Burns. And once I trade Brian Burns, that's basically like trading Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
If they want to
see.
rebuild, that's the way they got to do it.
Yeah, I could see that coming down. But, just looking at the division, like going into this season, like handicapping it, I was like, it's Bucks and Saints. Like that's who's going to be the teams you're, looking at as far as 1 and 2 for the division. Because last year, if you really watched the Buccaneers games last year, you knew what the problem was. And that's Byron Leftwich. Like you knew the problem was Byron Leftwich.
Well, and you can see why Todd Bowles didn't have any faith in those 4th downs against Pittsburgh. Honestly, with Tom Brady, knowing what I know now, it's not Tom's really fault, and he has some part in it. I wouldn't trust those two. If I'm just going to be honest, like playing devil's advocate here, looking back at it, why in the world would I trust that? What was going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, you upgrade the offensive coordinator position with Dave Canales. You already have a very good defense. You have a very good defensive head coach that knows how to coach defense and stop teams. And you still had a very talented offense that has a lot of playmakers that now is featuring guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Godwin back on the outside where he just feasts on anybody. It had recipe for success. And I know a lot of people are looking at, okay, Tom Brady for Baker Mayfield. Yes. Baker Mayfield's not Tom Brady. Nobody is, but Baker, again, perfect fit for the system that they brought in. And Dave has shown a history, at least 1 year of it, making quarterbacks better. And he did that with Geno Smith. And
Name one top 5 team that has a bad head coach or bad coordinator. It doesn't exist. They got all 3 of them that are usually pretty darn good.
Exactly.
So that's what the Bucs were missing. They had one coordinator that was really bad.
Yeah,
really bad.
And I have to jump in here real quick because you get the plus touched on it, and I mean it encapsulates me because what I saw from Todd Bowles, how conservative he was, no faith in the offense, no faith. In my mind as a fan, I'm thinking, oh, he doesn't have any faith in Tom Brady. But now knowing what I know and understanding everything and seeing the change, just the stark change from last year to this year, with the additions and the subtractions that were made, I was wrong, dead ass wrong. I mean, I was wrong about Baker from what I can see and what he's doing. And again, he still has a lot to prove going into the season. But that Vikings game where the Bucs, I thought he was going to fold in that Vikings game, to be honest. And he showed me, he's like, no, let's go back out here. Let's get back to work. And he was comfortable. He wasn't pissed off. He wasn't pouting. He wasn't like on the sideline. He was a quarterback. And that's kind of what builds confidence. And I think that's why the team kind of rallied around him. That's what you've seen. And even in that Eagles game, I felt like Baker Mayfield, he showed me a whole lot. And I'm like, wow, this guy is legit. This guy is an NFL quarterback. And when I say check up from the neck up, this guy just, you know what? He brushed the other stuff off and kept going, kept fighting. And that's what you want in your quarterback. So again, there will be, I'm sure, at the rate everything's going, there will be a Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles apology tour coming up because I was dead ass wrong. Just like when Tom Brady came to town and I was indifferent. Same way here. I think I need to just be indifferent when quarterbacks come in and they'll be successful. But all all joking aside, we see what Todd Bowles has done and how he's just comfortable enough to let his offensive coordinator do what he needs to do, and he can focus on everything else. So to me, that's what I'm super excited about. That everybody's handling their job, and I'm really hoping that this is the way this season will go. I don't expect to win every game going out, but I expect the Bucs to be in the playoffs. Just at the rate that they're going. Barring any catastrophic injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And just it's exciting to know that Dave is going to come in with different variations and adjustments for this week, because he knows that Detroit will be smart. They'll understand, okay, these are some tendencies that the Bucs offense has been showing, but now we're going to see some adjustments that maybe we see the deep pass over the middle with the clear out route that is going to be open because these safeties are starting to sit on those crossers underneath. So I'm looking forward to see if that adjustment is made. Maybe we get a Trey Palmer deep shot and it connects. That would be a lot of fun. So I think that is something that we're going to start seeing, a little bit more explosive plays, because it's going to be open due to the fact that teams are going to start to sit on those underneath routes, and it's up to Baker and company to make sure they take advantage of that. And also, seeing how he adjusts with his run game, understanding that shotgun runs are working a lot better than under center runs and stuff like that. Utilizing the counter and the pin and pull runs that have been effective instead of sticking with the duo runs. I know I would like to see him run more mid-zone runs, because I know that's supposed to be the staple. So I'd like to see that implemented a little bit more, maybe a little bit more wide zone runs to get Rashad outside the numbers. So it'll be interesting to see that aspect of it and what type of adjustments he makes on Sunday.
Yeah, and another thing that's been really refreshing is that he's learning as he's going, and he's not making the same mistake twice, which we've seen God for the past decade from offensive coordinators.
What, Godwin screens don't work? What's the anchor man? It works 60% every time. Like that's Byron with the Godwin screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one of the questions here, does Dave Canales get a head coach opportunity if Baker wins comeback player of the year?
No.
Yeah. I think it's still too early. I mean, this is his first year calling games.
Yeah. He'll get. Yeah, I was gonna say he'll get interviews, but he won't get a head coach job next year. It maybe maybe in 2025 when he has 2 years of experience and a resume building. But I think he wants to, I think he likes it here, and obviously he's having a great time. So I'm hoping the Buccaneers say, okay, we're gonna make you assistant head coach, raise the money a little bit, and keep him long term.
Yeah, most definitely.
And also. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say also, I mean, where has Dave Canales been for the past 15 years of his life with Pete Carroll, right? So he hasn't been, we see most of these, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, they were on 6 different teams, rising up through the ranks. What happens is that, I mean, again, I'm in sales here. A lot of what, goes on there is the relationship business. Dave Canales took everything they learned from Shane Waldron, which is great, but that's the only real mentor that's really been under him. He doesn't have this coaching tree that he's really learned from and then been able to connect. I mean, right now with the Bucs, it's not like Dave Canales came in with hand-picked 12 coaches. He brought in Brad Idzik and hired a couple external hires, like the running backs coach from Dallas. Like from that standpoint, he didn't have like this staff buildup. So from that standpoint, he doesn't when you come into a team in a situation, it's not just who even just calls the plays. That's great. The Baltimore Harbaugh, Harbaugh, he was a special teams coach. He wasn't calling offenses. If that was the case, Eric Bieniemy would have made, the head coaching rounds. It comes down to who can you bring in to help support you? What's your vision? I think we all can see Dave has a great personality, a good understanding of football. The players believe in him. He's just missing that one link, which is, hey, like, you don't really have your own coaching tree. You don't have people, if you were a head coach, you can hire 20 coaches just like that.
Mhm.
I think you're going to see some more staff turnover with the Bucks.
Yeah.
Especially after this season on the offensive side, because he might get a little bit more autonomy there. And that's when you go, hey, Dave Canales, now that we see that you not only have had sustained success, but you also have a staff ready to go, okay, now we may, invest in a 5-year contract with you as that.
Yeah. I mean, you look at who he's brought in. He's been very successful. I love the Jordan Somerville pick out of Oregon. He's a brilliant young football mind, and I think you're
interview.
going.
Did you see the interview he had recently? He was literally talking about he was a grad assistant at like 6 different places before he landed at Georgia, which is what opened all the doors. Because then he had basically Alabama and Georgia fighting for his services. So by the time he gets, an actual like DC job, the next thing you know, not Oregon's knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Dave Canales hasn't had that type of journey.
Yeah. This kid he's legit. I mean, since he was a teenager, he's been drawing up plays and stuff. I mean, I really believe strongly in him. I think the Bucks are going to fly or have flown under the radar as far as the coaching staff goes, and I think they'll definitely get recognized if they continue on this trajectory. They'll definitely get recognized.
Yeah, for sure. And like Ken said, it's about building relationships, and you see what Brad Isaac has brought to the receiver room. He's doing a great job.
Yes.
Obviously being his like second, right hand man as far as offense and understanding. Okay, we need to change it here, or add suggestions and stuff like that. So
real quick, while you're on that subject, have you noticed how clean the route running has been this year?
Well, I think
the pivot routes. Oh my God! When you were running screens with that little pivot that comes back.
I mean, the route running is just so much crisper than I've seen in a long time, and I don't know if I'm the only one that picked up on it.
No, I think it's just attention to detail. I think it's understanding and allowing these guys to run multiple routes. You're giving them options as far as, putting them in good positions. And also it's not all option routes. It's more, okay, here's the design. This is how we're going to run it. This is your play. And really be detailed in that. But it's also featuring guys' strengths. We're going to ask Mike to continue to do what he does best. Same thing with Devin Tompkins, like Ken mentioned with the pivot route. That's something he can do because that's his game.
Godwin did it too. That's how he got that long reception against the Saints. It's the same concept on the other side.
And the thing is, they've simplified. They've simplified, and you talked about this, Bless. Yeah. They've simplified this offense to the point where it didn't matter who's coming in; they're comfortable coming in.
It's also situational awareness. So, like for instance, with Byron Leftwich, he'd run the same play on 1st and 10 and 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
Like versus because again, we've seen Godwin screens on 3rd and 12. He'd run them on 3rd and 1. Yeah. Like Dave Canales, okay, like I've already seen you in 3rd and short. You're gonna play man. This is what you're gonna do, and we're gonna have man beaters really on both sides, and Baker's gonna pick which one pre-snap looks the best from what he's seen. Yeah. Like, how can you not be successful as a receiver if your route's already detailed there for you and you're not thinking, okay, safety's over here. So while I'm running, I'm looking at this safety. Oh, and now I know I have to break right. And it's just like, okay, I've been paying attention to the safety and not where I'm making my break.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's also like utilizing the pre-snap motion. It's getting these guys on the move. It's also, allowing them to create separation for themselves. Like you see, pick plays and getting guys free by running, clear outs or running, just those little details. Like even on the Devin Tompkins play that we're mentioning, where he runs the little comeback in, across the middle, that's Trey Palmer taking his guy out of the play. So it's those little details where you're creating space, not for yourself, but you're creating for others, and you're getting a higher percentage pass for Baker Mayfield. And that's one of the big reasons why he's at 70% completion right now, because you're giving him throws that are easy. It's like even if it's a 3-yard gain, you're still identifying a simple throw. Like last week against the Saints, it's move Devin Tompkins in motion. You run a play action and Baker rolls out to his left, throws it to Devin Tompkins for, 5-6 yards. That's great. Or, the little pop passes to Raheem Jarrett going across, just gains 3 yards, but still it's a positive play. That is what you're creating for this offense. And it's avoiding those 2nd and 12, 2nd and 14s, 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 14s, because you're being more positive on how you're operating. Now, that was much better against the Saints. We got to hope that continues, especially passing on first down to set you up in those manageable situations.
Well, and think about it also from just a penalty perspective. There's a way less chance of you getting a hold called on a 3-yard pop pass than it is on a long developing wide zone, for instance. That's how if you start up 1st and 20, Byron it was basically screen, it was draw, it was like you're pretty limited. Any offensive coordinator is limited when you're 1st and 20. But like Plus is saying, you're staying ahead of schedule. 2nd and 7's not bad. Okay, let's say even if you run it on 2nd and 7 and it's 3rd and 5, that's still manageable. And that's where the Bucs, other than the Eagles game, haven't been shooting themselves in the foot. And again, the Eagles present a lot of challenges. I think the weather had a play in that interception with Mayfield. Like there was different factors where I honestly was just like, okay, the Bucs are doing the right things at the right time. They're not making the process difficult, to Plus's point. You're making it simple. You're also making it sustainable. And we've all tried to diet before in our lives, right? Everyone try to go 5 days without eating. You're not going to do it, right? You come up with a plan, a sustainable model, so that way after 3 weeks, you're not even thinking about it anymore. That's how Dave Canales is calling a game. I'm showing you looks. I already have my script played out. So when I go to these different looks later, I already know how you're going to be playing it. And Baker's got 2 choices where he's just going to bing, and then scramble.
Yeah, and I think one of the unmentioned attributes that Baker has is he can read defenses. And we've been seeing this, throughout the season. And I don't think he gets complimented enough on that. But just there have been a couple of times that I've seen that I believe if the line had held up at least 2 more seconds, Baker's throwing a touchdown. I've seen people run wide ass open, but Baker has a scramble and he gets out of, he's trying to protect himself. He's getting out of what he does. But I really believe that, what he sees what's going on. And he's made huge strides since he's been here. So definitely something I'm excited to, kind of talk about that kind of thing. Jutton, it looks like Mike Evans was limited today. I'm not sure that's still going to be probably a game time decision before we know if Mike Evans is going to play or not. So, kind of keep your eye out and see what they say. But for now, it's just limited practice. And I think that's pretty much all we have right now.
Yeah, and we said it earlier as well. I think he's going to play in the game, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, thanks, Jay. I appreciate that comment. But yeah, I think Mike most likely is going to be in there. That will be great for the offense. And a matchup that we haven't really talked about is Luke Gedeke versus Aiden Hutchinson, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see how they combat that and how. What kind of help do they put on that side? And, obviously running your play actions to give him more time, doing your quick game in the passing game to allow Gedeke to play aggressive against Aiden Hutchinson. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like I said, this is a NFC North rivalry from back in the day, and I'm just excited for it,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Get Jay out of here. I'm just happy he's got no incriminating evidence on me yet.
Yeah.
Other than my
goodness.
tweeting.
Hey, you know what? You have to have him sign an NDA if you go hang out with him. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we hung out for Gasparilla, so.
Well, you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And that was a lot of fun. Did you ever see the picture of his flask? He's got a flask. It was full. That. And we drank almost all of it. So, shout out to him, man. He's fun to hang out with. So, a lot of people in here talking about Gedeke. I know in the beginning of the season, people wanted to launch his ass into the sun, but I think people are kind of turning around. And again, you can't jump out the window the first 5-6 games of the season. You kind of have to wait and see. You have to compile things together and see what kind of a team you have actually. And we've seen that where teams have flipped it around and they're kind of gelling and playing better. And like everybody thought that Dallas was going to go to the Super Bowl this year. Well, not me, of course, but a lot of people did. And again, we see how these teams go, and we see as the season progresses, you kind of see what you have in your team.
And the thing with G Vegas there with Hutchinson, I wouldn't expect a stonewall, but again, I expect the offense to get the ball out of Baker's hands, at least to start the game. So that way Hutchinson is not able to Hutchinson wins a lot with effort. He has really good moves, don't get me wrong, but he's not closing in on you the way that the Bosa's, the Parsons, he's getting there because he is sustaining and continuing to work. Luke Gedeke just can't get beat off the ball, which when he has been beaten, that's been where he's had some troubles. But when Luke's been sustaining, again, that's where he shut down Cam Jordan. I didn't like him giving Hutchinson some bulletin board material. But what he's saying, honestly, isn't that far off. Danielle Hunter is one of the most athletic freaks that's ever walked into the – I mean, if there wasn't Julius Peppers, we're talking about one of the most athletic edges to ever play in the NFL.
And that's the tough matchup for Gedeke because, again, he doesn't have elite length. Again, not super athletic, but he's athletic enough. So you figure him going up against more of a power player in Aiden Hutchinson, that's something
which is what Cam Jordan is. That's more of a it's Cam Jordan and Joey Bosa kind of having a baby with each other is kind of what Aiden Hutchinson is. Sorry, Gene, for the visual.
Which is still a phenomenal player, and that's going to be tough.
And Hall of Fame type player.
Right. And Hutchinson, I'm sure, will get somewhat, get wins in this game. It's just, can you minimize him from making those impact plays, whether it's strip sacks or interceptions that we've seen?
If the ball's out of Baker's hand, which again, I thought I saw a question about their secondary earlier. They're down Emmanuel Mosley, who's a very good, outstanding cornerback. His problem has been injuries. Fortunately, he's injured. Brian Branch is playing nickel for them. Looks like he's trending to not play. So you're really looking at a third-round pick at safety, another third-round pick at safety, undrafted free agent Cameron Sutton on the outside, Jerry Jacobs.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. So the advantage is there for the Bucs. So I expect a lot of zone. So from that standpoint, you're going to have the opportunities to get the ball out. Let Hutchinson get up on his heels because now he has to guess. Okay, well, now if our defense is playing soft, the Bucs are going to try to establish a run. It's not, again, the Byron Leftwich, thing of, okay, you're down 18, you must throw the ball. That's not going to happen because the Bucs are running about a 46% clip to 54% passing. So you really don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know this, do you see the running game improve? Like I said this earlier on in the show. I don't raise your expectations. Just you kind of have to keep it even playing. Still early in the season. This is a new offense. I know these all sound like excuses, but again, you have to get comfortable in however you're running. And I'm not disappointed in what Rachaad White is doing. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's not dropping passes or anything like that. He's just pretty much doing as much as he can. I know that there have been times where he's been apprehensive about hitting the hole, but again, I think it's all psychological. It's just one of those things that I believe that he'll overcome that as well. So I'm just being patient with him. This is like his rookie season, folks, because he was playing behind Leonard Fournette last year. And I think that also needs to be kept in mind when we're talking about where he is in his career.
Also, the Lions, the third-ranked rush defense. There's some context here. Okay, so against the Falcons, Bijan Robinson only had 10 carries. Tyler Algier only had 7. 17 carries. Desmond Ridder threw the ball 38 times.
Oof.
Okay. Jordan Love threw the ball 36 times. Aaron Jones had 5 carries. A.J. Dillon had 5 carries.
Yeah, not good.
Against the let's see, we have Mahomes had the most yards on the ground, 6 for 45. Pacheco only had 8 carries. Clyde only had 6 carries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, continuing going on, the Panthers were down by so much. Chuba Hubbard had 9. Miles Sanders only had 7.
Yeah.
I think Dave Canales is going to look at this, and then you look at the Seahawks, the only game that they lost. Kenneth Walker III had 17 carries and outrushed all the other teams that they played. He only had 43 yards.
Right.
But those 17 attempts are different. Those teams were not running the ball. They're not known for their run games, right? So from this standpoint, that third overall in run, stopping the run, that's great. Okay, their secondary is not healthy. So from that standpoint, they're vulnerable, and there's context to why they're third in the NFL in stopping the run. Because other than the Seahawks, no one's really tried.
Is this something that you use the pass to set up the run? Is this one of those scenarios that could that potentially work for the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be throwing the ball on first down because again, I'm fine if you get 5 yards on first down because of a pass. That sets you up in 2nd and 5 where you can run it, or you can go back to you can do play action. It sets up so many variables. So I think you have to attack with the pass first because when the Bucs have done that so far this season, they've had their most explosive runs. It's followed suit. So that is something that I think they need to set up this weekend against Detroit. And Ken makes a great point as far as the third ranked defense rush, against the rush. You have to still try to test that. You still have to
They
make
only
them
do
account.
yards. They're not doing yards per carry. They're not doing all these other metrics. They're just looking at total yards, and that's the number because you have 32 teams. You can't just go – I mean, that's where EPA per play comes into the equation. Guess which defense has the better EPA per play? The Bucs do. Yeah. By a pretty decent margin for what EPA per play, ranks you on. The Bucs are a tier above where the Lions are, and that's great. But remember, this Lions team right now just isn't healthy on the defensive side. So that swings things. They don't have a Vita Vea in the middle. You got Benito Jones.
Lee McNeil is good. Yeah.
But that's what I mean is like they have the talent, but there's no superstar.
Right.
They have good edges. They're really good, in my opinion. They're better against the pass rushing than they are stopping the run, at least from what I've seen, their personnel. That checks out.
So, guys, I have to ask you, we're getting past the bye. Who is the player? I'm going to start with you, Plus. Who is that one player that you felt like has really improved since the beginning of the season up until now?
I mean, you could go 2 ways. You could easily say Luke Gedeke. I mean, he's been probably the most improved player on offense. I think defensively, you could say Zion McCollum. Like he's just been outstanding, especially when he's in there. He's played since from week 2 to now, and he's been great. But as far as trending upward, I mean, offensively as a whole, I think they're trending upward. I love the play of Devin Tompkins. I think he's starting to come on. I think just having that
awesome. The Saints, we saw what he did in the preseason. Again, Plus is saying there's a lot of young players that are ascending here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but if I had to pick one, an obvious choice would be Luke Gedeke for me. I think just what he went through last year, and now he looks like a stable right tackle that you won't have to draft for next year. That helps you out a ton, and you can really just focus on interior offense line if you want to add another guard for Filer, and just be able to build more depth that way and attack a different position of need.
Yep, definitely. KB.
I mean, the answer is Luke Gedeke, but I'm gonna just call out Zion only because of our media was asking Dave Canales and Todd Bowles, or sorry, not Dave Canales, Casey Rogers and Todd Bowles about whether or not Zion would start despite Dean and Davis being healthy, because that's how well he was playing.
Yeah.
So that's the two main to really call out there. Everyone else, I mean, again,
like for me, I've been looking at Izzy, and Izzy is somebody that I've
Yeah.
been really.
He's been a stud.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is a rookie, so I can't really compare to what he did last year.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just talking about like from the start of the season to where we are now, and just
Izzy started off with a bang.
Yeah.
That cat from day one showed that he was snap one,
and he's been consistent in his play, and the fact that you don't go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm excited to see his matchup against Amon St. Brown. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun. Seeing
Izzy and Winfield to help too, so that's
right.
That's nice.
Yeah, it should be great seeing those guys match up.
All right. Well, guys, I cannot believe it's been an hour already. We've just been talking football and having fun, creamsicle. Yeah. Do you guys have any memories of and you guys are probably too young for all that, but I thought I'd throw that out.
Les has the creamsicle memory.
Yeah, he does have the so everybody's got their creamsicle story. I know that I'm ancient and I'm 10 times older than everybody else, but it was always fun, man. It was just a fun atmosphere just for those games. I really appreciate the camaraderie, made a lot of friends, as Buck fans, and it made you appreciate it. And some division rivals too, I made friends with as well. So it's been fun. And it's really cool that they, brought creamsicle back with the, players from the former division. So I love it, and I'm looking forward to it. And on that note, Pless, I'm gonna start with you. What do you got going on, man? Anything big coming up?
Nothing right now as far as what I can tell you. We're gonna have more content, obviously coming up, throughout the weekend. Probably more film studies. We've done a lot of film studies on the Saints game, but we're gonna have, probably have some more coming up, and it should be a lot of fun. I can't wait for this game. It's gonna be, I think, just a great matchup, and creamsicle memory. Like I told you guys earlier, seeing Josh Freeman and those Buccaneers beat Aaron Rodgers. They picked him off 3 times in that game. Denard Jackson with the pick 6 to seal it. That was on Good Morning Football this morning, which was awesome. They actually showed that play. But, Sammy Strotter catching the game-winning, put the team up ahead. Josh Freeman with a nice pass. And, I mean, those stick with me. Even in the games that we lost later in those years, Vincent Jackson, 99-yard touchdown, and we don't score. Rondé Barber getting pick 6s, that was always, I think he had a pick 6 in that Green Bay game, which was awesome. Or maybe it was like a fumble return or something, but, Rondé just still playing at an elite level. And then, Levante David, the only Buccaneer on the team now that has worn the creamsicle. So that's going to be just really fun to see the atmosphere. And I hope it's more, percentage Bucks fans for this game, but who knows, Detroit, they're going to be here because we have a lot of people that live down here from Detroit. So should be fun.
Yeah, there we go. KB.
Yeah, as Plus said, I mean, I think this is going to be not only just a really good game, I think this is a great opportunity for the Buccaneers. It's very hard for me to see scenarios where they lose this game more than, again, like a field goal. I think this is going to be a very hard-fought contest between both teams, especially in the trenches. Which quarterback's going to hit that shot down the field, that maybe turn that, 50, 60-yard touchdown into that big advantage, where that other, team is not getting the pressure in their face and able to do it. Again, it's going to come down to coaching, execution, and turnovers. It's what it's basically been. That's how the Bucs have either won and lost their games. It's not a talent thing. It's not, again, the Bucs were hanging with the Eagles for a while there. The talent's there. So again, we'll see. I'm feeling very good though. Just recently got into sports betting though. Just want to shout that out. If you being responsible with it, there's some really good opportunities out there. Meeting with someone after actually this podcast to kind of, show them kind of like what I've been doing. Really cool, good opportunities, but make sure you do everything responsibly there. If you need anyone to talk to, again, this is an opportunity where I can help assist there. Turned so far just on Prize Picks 25 into 520, just in these 3-4 weeks here. So again, there's some good opportunities there. Most of those picks are on Bucks games. So again, as Plus is saying, everything that we're doing is pretty simple, basic. It's pretty representative of where this team really is at this point. So that's the only real big update for me. Normally I just say you guys already know where to follow me, but that's a fun little update, something I've kind of been keeping to myself, but other than the occasional.
I'm glad you brought it up. Well, I'll definitely be chatting with you on that. But for me, I'm excited, man. I'm buying in. I got both feet in the water. I'm about to dive in, I guess, as the season progresses. Water. Yeah. and I'm happy. I'm happy to be wrong. I on this show, if you know anything about me, I'm not an NFL insider, never claimed to be. I'm just a fan. I'm passionate about this team. I love talking about this team. So if you hear me say stuff like I did about Rondé Barber going in the Hall of Fame and, people were critical of what I said, I stand by what I said. But, it is because I'm a fan and I felt like he should have gone in sooner. But kind of getting back to what I was talking about, the Bucks have really, surprised a lot of people. And, the community is really starting to buy into this as well. So I'm super excited about this. Looking forward to this game. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Thank you all for taking time. You didn't have to, but you came in, contributed to the chat, made the show that much more fun. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you. And hopefully we'll be doing this again next Thursday, talking about the Bucks again. And we're doing the same thing. So everybody have a good night. Be safe out there. What time is it? 4:25 game?
Yep, 4:25.
4:25.
Yep. What do you all having time? What is this 4:25? Oh, for us. I thought you were talking about the game right now. That's about
no.
Yeah, they should have knocked on Pacific time, but like what?
Yep, they could have knocked 5 minutes off and made it a 4:20 time, but they chose to make it 4:25, and I understand that with the NFL being who they are. But anyway, guys,
because of the witching hour.
Exactly. Anyway, guys, everybody have a good night, and we are out of here. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.
Yeah.